Joining me now, Democratic Representative Keith Ellison of Minnesota, one of two Muslim members of Congress. So, Representative, let me start by asking your reaction to watching this debate play out around Ted Cruz's proposal.
Well, first of all, Chris, I'm so brokenhearted for the people of Brussels. My sympathies go out to them. I think it is incredibly sad that in their tragedy ends up being a political football in the United States. And people like Ted Cruz and Donald Trump try to exploit this in order to make electoral gains. I mean, the fact is what both Trump and Cruz have said is reprehensible, wrong, unconstitutional, counterproductive, and bad policing, as Bill Bratton made very clear. It's bad policing. It doesn't help us get safer, but it does undermine the rights of U.S. Citizens and residents. I'm from Minnesota. I'm a few blocks away from where he might be talking about in terms of Muslim neighborhoods, and I can tell you this neighborhood is full of excellent, hardworking, patriotic people who love this country and make it better all the time. I'm offended for them. I'm offended with them. And we're not going to let go of our American value system just because Cruz is scared and doesn't want to actually do the hard work of making America safe, but would rather just scapegoat a religious minority.
You know, we have now seen a variety of ISIS attacks in Europe and the U.S. Over the past year. The most severe ones here in Europe, right, are, of course, San Bernardino, which appears to be ISIS-inspired, if not sort of ISIS-directed in an operational sense. Do you have faith that, God forbid, if there were to be another attack in the U.S. of a scale like something here, in the American political system to not completely lose sight of these sort of core values?
Yes, I do believe that we will deal with the problem in a forthright, sensible way. I think the greater majority of Americans know and understand that panic and scapegoating is not going to make us safer. What we've got to do is have greater amount of integration, build relationships. We've got to, make sure that we're monitoring people who actually are showing signs of radicalization, not just their religion, but actually doing things that raise legitimate concern. And it's important to have great relationship within the Muslim community. So, there's reports out there that have shown that as many as a third of the attacks that have, or potential attacks, have been reported and thwarted by Muslims. And of course, as we both know, Chris, the greater majority of domestic terrorist attacks are not by Muslims at all. They're by people like Timothy McVeigh. And so, we've got to understand terrorism as a generalized threat, various ideologies that drive it. But no, I think we can get through this, but people like Trump and Cruz are not helping.
Are you concerned about putting the genie back in the bottle from the perspective of rhetoric? I mean, it's just been striking to me how normalized things in, prominent figures in American political life now, talking in a generalized way about Muslims as a group, that if people talk that way about Jews, about the blacks in that way, that we would rightly recoil in horror. It would violate some very important and justified social taboos. Do you worry about where the rhetoric's gone?
Yes, I'm actually pretty concerned about the rhetoric. As you know, there are these open calls about the Muslims, but Ted Cruz has one of the foremost haters as a top advisor. Frank Gaffney is treated like a legitimate political advisor, where this man, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center, is a primary chief hater and the moral equivalent of David Duke. So we are at a critical stage and real cause for concern. But it's not just Muslims. I mean, remember, Trump started out talking about how Mexicans are bringing drugs and crime and some are rapists, moved on to making horrific statements about women. Trump did say the blacks, and has made racist statements over the course of time. The political discourse has gone down on the extreme right. They've exhibited features of fascism, quite frankly, and have caused great concern. But I think that, vigilance is what's required here, calm, and making sure that we adhere to our American values. I mean, quite frankly, there have even been attacks on the press. Chris, reporters beat up. Breitbart reporter, even a conservative reporter, beat up at a Trump rally. So we're seeing some ugly signs, but we will get through this because I believe that the American people are going to hold on to the values that have made this country great.
I should note that reporter was grabbed, she says grabbed by the campaign manager for the Trump campaign, showed bruises. I wouldn't characterize as beat up, just to be clear on that. Representative, are there Republicans you feel like, colleagues of yours, that you can still sort of work with on this issue or talk to? Does it feel like that party has been so co-opted by this kind of language, there's not much entrance there?
Let me tell you, I go work out every morning at the Members Wellness Center, where people are just working out, trying to stay in shape. And I have informal conversations with Republican friends all the time. Many of them know that this is not acceptable. In fact, publicly, Paul Ryan made a statement sort of rejecting this ugly rhetoric, I believe, today. So it's not as if all the Republicans are following them down this ugly, dark path. I would simply encourage my friends, we can argue about taxes and spending all you want, but can we say that we're not going to scapegoat and demonize Americans based on religion? A lot of Republicans are sick of it too, but it's time for good people to stand up and be counted. That's what time it is right now.
All right, Representative Keith Ellison, always a pleasure. Thank you for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.